Hi, welcome back to World of the Psychic.
Together we shall cast ourselves into the future.
Seen any aliens lately?
This is a part of America we never get to see.
Are you by chance referring to the legend of the Loch Ness Monster?
A ball of twine that weighs 19,000 pounds.
What is this, nerd porn?
It is about the Templar treasure, but it's also about other things, conspiracy theories, urban legends, and other myths that are true.
You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the
Travel Oddities Podcast.
Welcome to the Travel Oddities Podcast. I'm Harley. Today is Monday, March 27th. On today's show, episode 69.
69, dudes!
We have a great interview with author Jason Offutt. Jason and I discuss the Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. I also have a few facts about Villisca, including something to do while you're in the area and a place to grab some grub. We are going to jump right into the interview after this.
Life is a mystery. Confusion is all around us. The truth is out there, but you won't find it here.
Maybe it was the ghost of an alien that worked for the government.
You know, you remove the alien anal probe out of the story, and it probably wasn't this guy's worst Saturday night.
Welcome to Hysteria 51, a weekly oddcast of conspiracy theories, mysteries, and the unexplained. All viewed through skeptical eyes and the blurry lens of a beer bottle. Listen to Brent and John make sense of it all each week by subscribing. Find us on iTunes by searching Hysteria 51 or anywhere else fine podcasts are sold.
Tonight we're talking with Jason Offutt about the Villisca Axe Murder House in Iowa. Jason is the author of no less than 10 books. He's a ghost-hunting, road-tripping professor and self-proclaimed nerd. So, Jason, welcome to the Travel Oddities Podcast.
Hey, thank you very much for having on. How come we haven't hooked up before now?
I don't know. Honestly, your books are exactly our show, so it does seem a little odd. So your bio makes me feel like a slacker. You're a textbook writer, paranormal writer, travel writer, professor. What's your secret? Please, God, say donuts?
Well, no, yeah, God. You know what? I don't even eat donuts. I don't like sweets.
Maybe that's it.
I know. No. I get my sugars the old-fashioned way. The fermentation.
Nice.
Right. So my wife can have, chocolate chips and ding dongs all over the house. I'm not gonna touch them. But don't bring any beer around me because it's gone.
So how did you get to where you're at now? It's hard for me to imagine as a child you said, I want to write paranormal stories.
Well, it's just, I mean, I when I was 10 years old, I'm like, I love to read. I've always loved to read. And when I was 10, I'm like, I want to do this. I want to tell stories. And, everybody, I marched into the living room and told my parents that I want to write books when I grow up. They rubbed my head and, oh, that's really adorable. Get out of here, you scamp. And I just kept pursuing that. I wanted to write, so I wrote a lot. And I was also interested. I've been interested in the paranormal since I was, fairly young. My first love was reruns of Star Trek. And I got hooked on In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy when I was a kid, which they talked about all sorts of paranormal stuff. I followed as a kid. I grew up in the 70s. Bigfoot sightings were in the press. They were in the mainstream press. That was before everybody was making fun of them. So I followed all that stuff, and when I saw a ghost in my house as a kid, I'm like, I want to find out what this is. Why not interview people and know what they know and tell other people about it?
Definitely sounds familiar. So tell me about this. You saw a ghost in your house?
Yeah, I was about, 8, 10, 9, 10, something like that. I mean, ages kind of run together. But I grew up in a farmhouse. It was about 120 years old. For most of its existence, it was a school building, and my dad actually went to elementary school there, and his mom was the teacher. My grandma was the teacher. When I was there, it was just a nice little 3-bedroom house, and out in the middle of nowhere. And one morning, well, it was not a morning; it was afternoon probably. But I got up. I wanted to get a book, and we had hallway lined with bookshelves outside my bedroom door. So I was going to go get one volume of the encyclopedia. I was that kind of a nerdy kid who would just grab a volume of the encyclopedia and, try to learn something.
Yeah.
And there was a kid in the hallway. And, all of our neighbors, there weren't any kids. Me and my sisters were it. And he was about 6, maybe 7, and he was just looking at me. And he had brown tousled hair. It was parted on one side, but it was a mess. He had a blue flannel shirt on and blue jeans, and I didn't get down to the feet because I realized that I could see the bookshelves through him.
Oh.
And we just stood there. I mean, it could have been 4 days or it could have been 20 seconds. It was probably 20 seconds. I was just shocked at what I was seeing, and he blinked. And that broke whatever spell I was in, and I turned around, went in my bedroom and shut the door, and I didn't talk to anybody about it for about 30 years. But that, I saw something that I couldn't explain other than ghost, and I started doing all the reading I possibly could. I mean, what kid that age, knows who Hans Holzer was, but I did.
Wow.
So I started reading lots of ghost stuff, and because I wanted to find out what I saw, and that, of course, has since expanded quite a bit.
I got to say, I don't know how I would have reacted as a child. I've never had an experience like that. I did see a pair of ghost legs one time at a hotel, but no, full-bodied apparition in my history.
Well, the thing is that ghost legs at a hotel, that's one thing. Seeing a boy staring at you that you can look through in your own house, about 6 feet away from your bedroom door, the place where you're supposed to be safest, yeah, that was pretty creepy.
Exactly, and like I said, I don't know how I would have reacted to it as a child, but I know right now I would move. I would literally leave the state. Yeah. I wouldn't come back. I'd leave all my possessions, so yeah, that's definitely creepy. That's a good way to start, I guess. So as far as your writing goes, it looks like you've written quite a few books that are right up our alley, but I did notice that you have a little bit funnier book, the How to Kill Monsters Using Common Household Items.
Right.
Is it a parody, or is that...
Oh, no, it's a parody. Absolutely, it's a parody. What I just, one day I was like sitting in my house thinking, if a werewolf burst in here, what would I do? What is sitting within 4 feet of me that I could grab to defend myself? And the first thing I thought of was the cat, which I refer to in my book as a werewolf distraction advice. You can throw the cat at the werewolf, and that will keep him busy enough, and in time for me to go grab something to attack him with.
That sounds like a decent premise for a book. I like it. So a lot of your other books seem to be travel-related, or specifically, I guess, regional-related. Do you do mostly things in your neck of the woods? Yes.
Mostly because, travel's expensive. Travel's really expensive. The farthest I've gone from my house, I wrote a book back in 2011 called Across the Corn-Swept Land, an epic beer run through the upper Midwest. Because we have this enormous map on our wall. My wife brought it home one day, and she goes, "We need to put this in a frame and put it on our wall. It'll make us look smart when people come over." And I was looking at it one day, and I'm like, okay, here's Missouri, and here's where I live, and here's Canada. Let me get out a ruler. Wow, that's 1.25 inches. It's not that far. I could drive 1.25 inches. So I started looking up, what's between my house and Canada, and I found that the road that goes, not that many blocks away from where I'm sitting right now, that highway goes all the way up to Fort Francis, Ontario. And it was only 11 hours. And there were a lot of really cool things, historical, weird, and fun between here and there. So I, made some plans, hopped in the vehicle, and took off with my wife's permission.
That's always
got to have that.
That's kind of what we focus on our show, is just, the things that you can do, on a tank full, or, kind of open up your eyes. There's something cool right around you.
Right. And which
concept.
Is, yeah, it's a couple of my paranormal books have been that. My first book on the paranormal, Haunted Missouri, I really wanted to be a haunted travel guide, because I'd read a lot of, haunted Illinois or Wisconsin or whatever, and those books are cool, they're fun, but a lot of them had to do with hauntings in private houses. And you know what? I wanted to go to those places. And I doubted this person in, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin would want to see my face in their, bedroom window at 3 a.m. It's not going to go over well.
No, I think there's a charge for that.
Probably, yes. So, and so I wanted to do something for my home state like that, but all the places that I listed would be open to the public. So all the haunted places that I covered were, hotels. I mean, you might have to pay. I mean, it's bed and breakfast. You can go in and look around. But if you want to stay the night in the room where the man with the pipe and the derby, this is the bowler hat, appears in the middle of the night, you're going to have to pay for that room. But all the places that I went, you could at least go to and experience whatever you can experience. And so, yeah, that's it. I even at the end of each chapter, I have directions. I've got, if they have a website, a phone number, the address, and if it's a place like Mark Twain Cave in Hannibal, Missouri, if you want to go to that, I gave what the price was. Price in 2007, but it's showing that you got to pay to get in.
Just as fair warning, I have a copy of that book, and I will be stealing lots and lots of your information for future episodes of our show. We'll try to give you credit along the way, but don't be surprised if you hear a Travel Oddity show that sounds kind of familiar.
Okay, well, yeah, as long as you name drop me every once in a while, hey, I'm cool with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one of the things, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just one of the things that has to do with the addresses at the end of every chapter. I had a person contact me to thank me for my book because her mom was getting remarried and she liked haunted places, and they used my book to find a place to get married and used the directions and the contact information that I listed in order to make reservations to go there and and get married. So I feel good about this.
That's awesome. Well, that is a relatively good segue into our topic of discussion for the evening, the Villisca Murder House.
Which is romantic, right?
Well, it's very specific. There's no confusing that with, that house may be haunted. If you call your place the Axe Murder House, I'm kind of guessing there's some history there.
Right. And they're not trying to hide anything.
It doesn't sound like it.
No, not at all.
Could you give us a little background on the Axe Murder House?
Right. Yeah, it's just, I even mentioned it in my travel book because it's just up the highway from me. Yeah, the Villisca, Iowa, in 1912, the J.B. Moore family. The town's small. It's about 1,200 people. It's in the middle of it's in a cornfield because it's Iowa. Anyway, in 1912, the J.B. Moore and his family went to a church picnic. I believe it was in July on a Sunday, and ate whatever they ate in 1912 at a church picnic. And the kids, there was Paul, Lena, and Boyd, Catherine, and Paul had invited Lena and Enos Stillinger to come home with them and play. And the parents were all fine with that, so they all came home to the Moore house, and nobody knew this when they came home and the kids played, and then eventually it was time for bed and everybody went to bed. Nobody knew that there was a guy with an axe from the Moore shed hiding in the attic. And when everybody was down and asleep, the guy came out and he killed everybody by bashing their skull with the flat of the axe. It was a single-bladed axe. Except for the dad, J.B. Moore. He killed him with the blade. Everybody was asleep when this happened. The guy was really quiet. There was evidence that one kid had woken up because her forearm was broken. So she probably put it up to protect herself as the axe was coming down. Whoever it was went downstairs, didn't touch anything. Nothing was stolen from the house. J.B. Moore had the habit of emptying the pockets of his trousers out on the kitchen table. So his wallet, keys, money, his pocket watch, everything was still sitting there. The thief or the murderer wasn't there to steal anything. But what the murderer did was take some bacon that they'd had, and apparently what they thought he did was rub it on his feet. So when he escaped, the dogs wouldn't be able to track him because their noses would be clouded with bacon. And eventually the bacon would wear off, and they would be lost.
I'm at a loss.
So all of this happened, and the guy was never caught. This was an unsolved mystery. There were a couple of, there's a little bit of speculation as to who it was. There was a traveling preacher in town that the next morning he was gone. But, I mean, he was found later, and they determined that he wasn't guilty. And what it came down to is the thought now is J.B. Moore's business rival, because Moore had the John Deere dealership in town. His business rival, who lost out on the dealership, people think that he had him killed. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was the story with that. Oh, and I would say the worst thing about this, but we have a slaughtered family and 2 other kids. The mom, the Stillinger mom, called the next morning because her children were supposed to be home, and the woman at the telephone company, the operator, said, "I'm sorry, I can't ring anybody at that house because they were all murdered last night."
Oh, wow!
It's a heck of a way to find out that 2 of your family members had been killed.
You felt like that was the bad part or the bad thing to bring up after the family had been murdered. I was worried about the bacon, so I think yours is better.
No, that's an honestly good thing to be worried about.
It seemed important in the story.
It sure was. Well, and after that, the house has purported to be haunted. The people who lived there, it was a rental house afterward. Moore's brother rented it out. People who lived there, there was one family that the husband lived in the shed out behind the house because he was too terrified to even go in the house. So he lived in the shed and let his family live in there. It had, people in and out for years, renters in and out. And finally it was abandoned. A man named Darwin Lynn and he's since passed, but he and his wife realized when this house was abandoned and about ready to be torn down that this was Villisca's claim to fame. So they bought it and tried to restore it back to the 1912 state that it would have been in, and then they started renting it out to ghost hunters, and the thing is most probably haunted. There are tons of things that since a lot of children were killed there, people bring gifts like balls and toys, and people have reported to be sitting there and watch balls just roll across the floor, and then they'll roll back. And that's not the house tilting if they will roll both ways on a floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've talked with people, a woman who used to work there as a tour guide. She worked there as a tour guide until something pushed her down the stairs. Something she couldn't see. And that was enough for her.
I got to think, if a house is going to be haunted, a whole bunch of people being murdered with an axe is probably going to cause it. So I definitely don't think you're getting away from that one. Have you any knowledge of the experiences that are happening there? Are they still happening?
Well,
are there still stories coming out of there?
Well, there's I'm sure there's still stories. I mean, it's still open. People still go and stay there. I took a few years ago at my university. I proposed. They're really great at classes that seem odd. They're really great at supporting those, and I proposed a class called paranormal journalism. That's what I teach, is journalism. And since the paranormal is an interest of mine, I've been sickened for years by TV, radio, newspapers. Whenever they get a hold of a story of, like the Stevensville UFO sightings or the Phoenix Lights or anything like that. The TV stations always have the X-Files music playing in the background. And if somebody has a Bigfoot sighting, the newspaper is going to reference Harry and the Hendersons. The same with, a ghost sighting. The newspaper is going to reference Ghostbusters.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if after that point they treat the story honestly and straightforward. Just because they did that belittles the whole thing and makes it a mockery. So what I wanted to do is to show a bunch of reporting students that you can take these topics and cover them as seriously as you would, a car accident or a city council meeting, which are actually kind of both the same thing. But you can cover them straightforward because these people who say they saw something believe they saw something. And there's a really good chance that they did see something that, science can't explain. So treat it with some respect. And one of the things I did for my students is took them on a field trip to Villisca. And we were at the house for probably 5 hours at night. And some interesting things happened there. A couple of minor things. One of my students, she got tapped on the shoulder, and when she turned around, there was nobody close to her. I told these students specifically, don't bring a Ouija board, which they did.
No.
And the planchette danced across the board. One student who was a complete skeptic and didn't believe in any of this stuff ran screaming from the house because of that. There was one student his name was Strat, which is a weird name. That was his first name. Before we got there, I said to everybody, don't be like Zach from Ghost Adventures, okay? Don't go in the house yelling at the ghosts. Don't challenge them, okay? We're going to show respect. Just go in and just look around.
Right.
Okay? And this guy said, oh, no, Mr. Offutt, I'm totally going to yell at those ghosts. Okay, so we go in, and he's a jerk for a while. And eventually he calms down, and a bunch of us are downstairs, and one of the students brought a Frank's box, which for the listeners who are not familiar with that, it's a white noise generator. It picks up static from FM signals, and it's supposed to be like an EVP that happens in real time. Well, whatever, electronic equipment and ghost hunting I've always been dubious of. So I'm like, okay, let's go play with your toy. We went in the cupboard. There's about 8 of us, and it was a big storeroom, and it was really cold in there, colder than it was in the rest of the house. And the guy said, "Is there anybody in here with us?" And the Frank's box went shh with static, and then all of a sudden a voice said, "Yes."
Oh.
Okay, cool. You know what? This thing is picking up FM signals. It's picking up static, but I can see a yes being grabbed out of the ether. That's no big deal, okay? I'm cool with this. I still don't believe this Frank's box is actually picking up ghost voices. So he starts asking more questions and getting yes and no answers to every question. And finally, he says, "Are you angry we're here?" And the voice, shh, yes. And it's the same voice every time. And he goes, "Do you want us to leave?" Shh, yes. "Is the person you're angry with in this room?" Shh, no. "Who are you angry with?" And the voice was silent for a couple seconds and then said, "Stratton."
Oh. That's super creepy.
Okay, if it was said Joe or Jim or Bob or Taylor or Heather or something like that, some name that's vaguely common, and I would have been okay with it. But it was the one guy who was being a jerk and yelling at the ghost and challenging at them to come out, and it was a weird name.
Oh, so. Did you all leave at that point in time? Did you continue on with...
We didn't ask any more questions. Questions. I said, "Thank you, we will leave soon." And then we walked out of the room. But everybody, we weren't scared. It was more of a look of, we just experienced something special.
Yeah.
And we all really appreciated what had happened.
Well, you call it special, but I've got goosebumps, so I'm going to say it falls into the scary category a little bit.
Well, okay, no, I'll give you the one scary thing that happened there.
Okay.
This is about a week before we went to Villisca. One of my students who hasn't really had anything paranormal happen to her, except for she told me at the time that always, and I'm trying to think, SLI, street light. Was it interference maybe? It's what people report that whenever they go underneath street lights, a lot of times the street lights will go out. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of that before, but this girl had it. It happened to her. And we've talked about it before, but she hadn't really had anything else paranormal happen. But about a week before we went to Villisca, she said, "I had a dream that we went to Villisca, and I went upstairs, and the stairs were really small. And I went through the main bedroom, and then I went into one of the children's bedrooms, and there was a doll. It was kind of like it was a Raggedy Ann doll sitting on the bed, and it was facing away from me, and the head turned and looked at me, and I woke up screaming. And I'm like, okay, Kara, that's an awesome dream. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Axe Murder House. As soon as we got there, she went upstairs, and the stairs in this old house are really... the stair, they're really close. It's really claustrophobic. It's a tight stairway.
Right.
And she gets up there, and I'm talking to somebody, and all of a sudden I hear this piercing scream and these thundering footsteps, and she is pounding down the stairs, and her face is white, and her eyes are huge. And she said, "It's there, it's there," and she ran outside.
Oh.
And I went upstairs, and it was like she described it. You know, it was a tight stairway. You had to go through the master bedroom into this bedroom with the kids, and there was a Raggedy Ann doll laying on the bed.
That's very specific. I wouldn't have come back in. I don't know if she did, but I definitely would not have.
She eventually did. She would not go upstairs anymore. She stayed downstairs. But yeah, that was the scariest part of the night.
And you said this place isn't far from your house, right? You're just down the road?
It's about a 45, 50-minute drive, yeah.
Yeah, that's just down the road for me.
Yep.
We're both on the plains. Anything under an hour, and that's pretty close.
Oh, that's right around the corner. Anything under an hour, absolutely.
Exactly. So, Jason, what do you have in the publishing pipe? Anything coming up?
Well, coming up. No, I just had a book of short stories published. I also write short horror fiction. So I've got, like I said, that just came out in February. It's called Road Closed, 12 Bloody Stories to Brighten Your Day.
That's an awesome title. I didn't see that one. I probably would have bought it as well.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's Kindle and paperback. So yeah, it's all my books are out on Amazon. But yeah, I've got really eclectic writing tastes. I write nonfiction because I'm a journalist, so I write a lot of nonfiction. I also have a novel out. It's called A Funeral Story. It's basically a nerd romance. Dungeons and Dragons playing nerd happens, which I am as well, so I can't throw stones. But he has a weird habit of picking up and having sex with strange women at funerals. And he runs into one he likes, and hilarity ensues from there. But I've got that, and I've got the book you mentioned, the parody book. So I've got a lot of different selections out there.
It's very eclectic.
Yeah. Well, because you said, what do I have in the pipe? I just came up with this idea and posted it on my website. I'm looking for stories. I have a book called 365 Dick Moves. I hope I can say that on the.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Feel free.
So basically what I want is to compile 365 stories of people just being jerks. Really short, one-paragraph stories of, this is what I did. I'm kind of embarrassed, but you know what? It was funny.
I probably have about 20.
Hey, I'll save a slot for you.
Okay, great. Well, Jason, I think now's the point in time where you kind of shake us down for money. So where can we find all of your books? What's the best way to get in touch with Jason Offutt?
Okay, the two best ways to find my books. You can just type my name into the search bar on Amazon, or go to my website, which is www.jasonoffutt.com, and that's JASONOFFUTT. I've got a link to all my books. Just click on that, and it'll take you right to them. I also have a link called 365 Dick Moves. I want your stories, and that tells you where to send those as well. What about social media? Are you a Facebook person? Can people follow you on Facebook or Twitter? Absolutely. I've got an author site on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. Yes. Okay, great. I will include all of the links in our show notes for that information. Is there anything else you'd like to plug this evening, Mr. Offutt? What, with me? No. Just, spread this show around. All right, guys? Jason, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Hopefully we can get you in here again for a different location sometime in the future. All right. You know what? Anytime. I had a great time on the show. Thank you so much for inviting me. That was our interview with Jason Offutt. Jason reminds me a lot of Edgar Wright. If you guys are a fan of Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, you should really pick up a copy of Jason's book. And that smug look on his face. Oh, you're gonna buy my chicken. Oh. Now, as far as the Murder House, I did find a little bit of information on tour pricing. You can stay there overnight. Overnights are $428. That's for 1 to 6 people. Basically $75 each person.
Now, this is something the other tour guides won't tell you.
Now, if you are going to be staying at the Villisca Murder House, you may want to be able to defend yourself against any unwanted advances by the paranormal.
Be warned. It is my job to arm you against the foulest creatures known to wizard kind. You may find yourselves facing your worst fears in this room. Know only that no harm can befall you whilst I am here. I must ask you not to scream.
One recommendation is to cover all the mirrors. This will keep ghosts from using any mirror as a portal from one world to the other. I've got a link in the show notes for some additional things that you might try.
And some of you are now dead.
Now, the town of Villisca and some things to do in the area. Villisca is a city in Montgomery County, Iowa. The population is approximately 1,300. The name Villisca means pretty place or pleasant view, but the Indian word Villisca means evil spirit. So there might be some crossover there. It does look like a gorgeous place, and there might be some evil spirits. The town newspaper, the Villisca Review, is available online. We've got some very interesting historical information there in the Villisca Review. Now, just up the road from Villisca is the Viking Lake State Park in Staunton. I don't know if the park has been signed off for by Nita the Viking Queen, but they have swimming, fishing, boating on a lake, plus nature trails, campgrounds, and concessions. It's over 1,000 acres, so it looks like a lot of fun.
The beginning felt pretty good.
Yeah, it was great.
I just thought I'd get too much in the end.
No, it was really terrific.
Yeah.
Now, no episode of the Travel Oddities podcast is going to be complete without something to eat in the area. I did find a restaurant called Bucksnort. It's a great little burger joint in Glenwood, Iowa, just a short shot west of Villisca. Open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. They make burgers using only the finest quality and freshest ingredients, but that's typically not enough to make it on the Travel Oddities show. Aside from having one of the oddest names of a restaurant, they have a burger called the Swamp Donkey. It's a 3-pound patty with brisket, cheddar cheese, topped with onion rings and barbecue sauce. You can eat there for under $10. Looks awesome. If you're in the area, check these guys out. I have had quite a bit of feedback this week from a lot of people that I didn't know actually even listened to the show. A lot of people saying, keep your chin up, you can do this, that sort of thing. I really appreciate all the feedback.
Look at the size of that boy's head. Shh. I'm not kidding, it's like an orange on a toothpick.
You're gonna give the boy a complex.
Well, that's a huge noggin.
This is my first trial at doing this solo, so if you have suggestions for the show, please let me know. Call me on the odd line, 786-5-ODDITY, 786-563-3489, or on Facebook at Travel Oddities Podcast, Twitter, Travel Odd Pod. Don't forget to give us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. This has been the Travel Oddities Podcast, and I have been Harley.
But everyone here calls me Vicky.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon. Peace.
On a long and lonesome highway east of Omaha, you can listen to the engine moaning out its one lone song. You can think about the woman or the girl you knew the night before. But your thoughts will soon be wandering the way they always do when you're riding 16 hours and there's nothing much to do, and you don't feel much like riding. You just wish the trip was through. See, here I am on the road again. There I am, up on the stage. Here I go, playing the star again. There I go, turn the page. Well, you walk into a restaurant, strung out from the road, and you feel the eyes upon you as you're shaking off the cold. You pretend it doesn't bother you, but you just want to explode. Most times you can't hear them talk, other times you can. All the same old cliches. Is that a woman or a man? And you always seem outnumbered. You don't dare make a stand. Here I am on the road again. There I am up on the stage. Here I go, playing the star again. There I go, turn the page. Out there in the spotlight, you're a million miles away. Every ounce of energy you try to give away as the sweat pours out your body like the music that you play. Later in the evening, as you lie awake in bed, with the echoes from the amplifiers ringing in your head, you smoke the day's last cigarette, remembering what she said. Here I am on the road again. There I am up on stage. Here I go, in the star again. There I go, turn the page. Here I am on the road again. There I am up on the stage. Here I go, playing the star again. There I go, there I go. Thank you.
Anyway, so enough of me fawning over you.
Oh, but thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's a high compliment. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not doing anything right now, jackass. And he was pissed. I did Coast to Coast, and I was on for 3 freaking hours. So, man,
a little tour guide,
which is terrific. I love it. It's a great premise for a show. This is awesome. I've been on some of those shows, and they're awful. I can't do that.
All right, man. That's the show.